is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Marc of Gozu. Great to be able to talk to you. Thanks for finally coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Pleasure,
anytime,
pleasure.
anytime, man. Gozu plays an important role in my heart, actually, because when you guys played with Eyes of the Sun at Lucky 13, it was you guys, Pants Exploder, Eyes of the
Oh, right
Sun.
on.
Um, that was that was also the first time Heavy New York launched and created our first piece of content. So Gozu plays an important role in Heavy New York's history, whether you realized it or not.
Right, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that was a good
Thank
time,
you.
man. But it's so awesome to have you here with your new album. Remedy is absolutely kick ass. For people who haven't heard the full length album yet, though, do you feel like the first couple singles that we got so far is a good representation of this whole album, or is that just the tip of the iceberg?
I think it's a good representation, but I think regarding this album, it's our best album today. I think it's our heaviest album. I think on this album, the groove is what I think will is going to start grabbing people, and then also, there is it 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 has everything from, like, really nice melodies to to walls of walls of guitars, to solos, to amazing bass playing, to drumming. So I would say, yeah, I would say like Tom Cruise, Clouds, they definitely they lend, to what this album's about.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more going on also besides those. So
Oh, it most certainly does. And I'm glad you mentioned that it was called Clouds. I wasn't sure if that was meant to be like an abbreviation or something, or if that was.
no, so Clouds is so Dean Baltalonis, who produced and engineered. It's one of his companies. So as an ode to him, that's we call the song Clouds.
You're not going to have a trademark issue with that?
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I think he was quite happy for us to use it.
Yeah.
So not at all.
Yeah. Um, and you mentioned that this is one of your heavier albums, if not your heaviest album. Was that sort of like a preconceived vision in a way, or did it just kind of turn out that way?
Yeah, I think so. I think especially where we were, writing, everything had come to a complete stop. You couldn't leave your house. So literally, Doug and I just kind of I would write songs all the time. The same thing with him. I think, because of the mood and where everything was, there was a conscious effort, for it to be heavy, but I think it's heavier than we thought it was going to be,
Yeah.
which is a good thing.
Definitely. And I mean, I've considered Gozu's music to be on the more experimental side to begin with. Like, I mean, every
Yeah.
time I've seen you, like, I saw you at Lucky 13, and I also saw you with Candiria,
All right.
which was a great show. Like, every time you went into a new song, I was like, I didn't know what to expect. So it's fair to say that, like, trying new things in Gozu is fairly flexible, right? It's not like you have to be confined to something specific.
Oh, not at all. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best thing about us is that, yeah, we're definitely willing to go in many, many different directions, even within one song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely like to try. Yeah, we get bored easily. I'll put it in that manner. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely a band where we like to definitely expand and try different things.
Yeah, the bands that get bored easily usually the audience is doesn't get bored at all. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, we wanted this album just to really be, you know, an album where people, you could put it on if you're hanging out at home, if you're in the car, you know what I mean, if you're working out, um, you're on your bike, right? You're going for a walk. We wanted something kind of for everyone, in this album. But really, like we wanted like choruses to really kind of stick in your ear, you know what I mean? So a couple days later, you're humming along.
yeah.
If we did that, then we did okay, I think.
Yeah. Well, with bands that have the sort of, and I mean this as a compliment, but the rather sort of like weird aura or the weird experimental attire behind it, tend to
Sure.
also be very conceptually driven bands. Like I've seen it with Tool, I've seen it with Mastodon in a way. So
Right.
has Gozu ever approached things from a conceptual standpoint? Have you ever like came up with lyrics before you wrote music and that helped guide the music?
You know what? Yeah. So it's weird, to be honest with you. So there are times something pops in my head and I just write. There are other times, where I'll come up with the music before. But yeah, there's definitely a conceptual really kind of with writing. You know what I mean? I'm not someone that like sits, like, okay, from 6 to 10 I have to write, and from this time. So basically, it hits me at really weird moments. Like, there are times at night and I literally just have to be like, talking to my phone, or I'll be doing something and a whole tune will just hit me. Like, so, so I had all the lyrics written way before. And then a few weeks before we are going to go in the studio, I literally was sitting right here. And in 5 minutes, I rewrote probably, yeah, between 5, 10 minutes, I rewrote five of the songs. And the same thing next week, I rewrote the other five. Um, so they really kind of piggybacked off each other, is what happened.
Does it always come
It
from?
just something hit me. It was really weird.
Does it always come from an internal standpoint, or is there a lot of external sources of inspiration?
So yeah, I would say it really depends. There's a ton of internal, but there's a few more external. Lyrically, um, that it was things that I was seeing, things that kind of affected me, or things that affected people I knew. So it definitely kind of tells a story of different, I think, like the waves, that of emotions that people were going through, during the past couple of years. um yeah, because I can only write about stuff I know, you know what I mean. I can't write about anything that's magical. Like, I don't know magic, right? I've never fought a dragon, you know what I mean. So everything I write tends to be, people based, like, because if I'm singing it, it has to be honest, you know what I mean. I have to be able to feel it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, so you don't really like approach things so much from like a fantasy standpoint or anything like
No,
that.
no. Um, Trying to think if I ever have, to be honest with you.
A lot of
You
people
know,
would assume because you kind of like, what's funny is if you put a gun to my head and told me how would you label Gozu, this is my idea. I call it medicated hardcore,
all
because
right, on.
yeah, because you have like those sort of hardcore elements to it, but such a like
Sure.
like the sort of stoner metal rock vibe behind it as well, where like basically you guys would be Earth Crisis if they did smoke weed.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah,
That's a very good. I'm writing that down.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think like fantasy. What when I was younger, and played in, like, I was playing like 7 piece soul bands and stuff like that. Um, a little bit more, I think, but I've always tended to write about what's going on, more of kind of the human psyche, factors that kind of take us up, take us down. Um, I think because musically we're going sometimes, it could go from like 0 to 100 in point three, you know what I mean? And then we might take it like in a different direction. So I find, when I'm writing, things just kind of pop in. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, I hope this fits, with the music, you know what I'm saying? And so luckily, it does. And, I think as I've gotten older, writing is easier. I finally feel like I'm singing, to what I've kind of heard in my head, and definitely, playing guitar, I think much better. So, right. I think, we've gone, when we're writing music and things like that, because this album probably has the most dynamic, from start to finish. Some of the tunes, there's like five riffs, you know what I mean? And then you go to a chorus, or there's an intro. So, I think that with the stuff that, that we're playing, and especially having Seth in the band, it's much easier, to sing over certain things now. It's really, it's easier to play. Having that like amazing groove kind of makes everything sound better, taste better, feel better. So, I think having him in the band really kind of gave us a shot in the ass. You know what I mean? Um, the young guy kind of came in, and the three old dudes had to be like, "Okay, this kid is bringing a different fucking vibe." It's
Well,
so we're like, I don't want to get showed up by this kid. Like, oh.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big reason why we stepped up our game,
Yeah.
you know, writing and everything.
It's fair to say, I know it's like cliche to ask like what are your inspirations, but I think with your experimental sound, it's fair to say that all of you guys have different inspirations, right?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, yeah, like what I listen to is different than like what Seth, you know. I mean, there's things that obviously, you know, we all love, you know what I mean? But but we all kind of take different things in a bit of a different direction. Um, I will tell you, like I was listening to a ton of like Pink Floyd when we did this album. A lot of like, you know, Roxy music, Todd Rundgren. And then, you know, I was listening to like a ton of like Sly and the Family Stone, a lot of the bands. I was really trying to key on like different harmonies, but shit that sounded huge that was layered, you know. And Doug was listening to like heavy, heavy, heavy music. Um, and then Seth was listening to like a lot of Steve Gadd, you know, things like that. But also like you know, he was listening to like a ton of like hardcore. And then Joe, the same thing, kind of all over. You know what I mean? I remember listening to like a shit ton of like Joni Mitchell and stuff too. Um, but then you know, and then I would listen to like Yob or High on Fire or Sleep. So yeah, I think one thing that's good about us is yeah, definitely we're four very very different guys, shall we say? And I think that kind of shows, you know, musically.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, I think this album kind of really kind of hones in on a lot of influences. Um, and you know, I think that's something that we've been wanting to do, but obviously with our own spin on it. You know, I think we were comfortable enough in this album to just be like, you know, we would literally just be like, hey, let's try this. If it works, great, you know. So I think this was probably the freest album we've recorded. Um, you know, we weren't afraid to be like, okay, you just did that, but how about trying this or how about trying this? And man, the stuff worked. You know, like no one was like, oh, should I not ask this? So in that aspect, you know, I think that you have to really enjoy the guys you play with. You know what I mean?
oh,
Because
100%.
if you don't, it's the experience is not going to be spectacular.
Yeah.
Or people are going to be like, those guys look like they fucking hate each other on stage. You know what I mean?
It worked for
So especially when
Slipknot,
you're
but
recording, you know? What's that?
It worked for Slipknot, but it doesn't work for
yeah,
everybody. So,
yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't own any masks,
yeah.
or you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I think you know as you get older, and as you know, shit changes. You know, the way you kind of view recording changes, the way you write changes. But you know, I think for us, it's one of those things where if one dude doesn't like it, we don't do it. You know what I mean? It's definitely a democracy. It's not like we're doing this. Fuck you. Everyone has to be like, okay, you know, I'm into it. So I think that's one thing, and that's always been the way, you know, in our band. But you know, I think this album definitely. Everyone said, try this, try this, try this, try this, and you know, hopefully, you know, it worked. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I think it did. But
It definitely did.
oh, cool,
It
man.
definitely
That's thank you, thank you.
did. But would you consider any similarities between an album such as this, or Equilibrium, or Revival, or Locust Season, etc.?
Yeah, you know what? I think it all has that underlying groove. You know what I mean? Um, and you know, I think all the albums have a certain soulfulness. Excuse me. Um, you know, I think each album is similar but yet different. Like I think Locust Season to Remedy is very different, but there still is that underlying, you know, the riffs, um, you know, what I mean, the melodic harmonies. But I think that this is probably the most diverse album that we've done, just in terms of just playing. You know, what I mean, in terms of how we kind of wrote. Definitely how we kind of viewed when we were in the studio, you know, when we were literally just sitting recording on our phones, you know, and Doug and I just sending stuff back to each other. Um, you know, there was that, okay, I like that part, but nah, you know, I'm not feeling that. So I think that we were able to really kind of have those discussions. So that way, when we did get, you know, in the rehearsal spot, we had a shit ton of songs. We just picked the ones that we felt comfortable with and ones, you know, that we thought, you know, would kind of lend, you know, an easier step, right? We thought we were going A to B to C to D, right? We weren't going from A to Z to back. So we wanted, you know, songs that had a comfortable kind of sheen, but we wanted something where just literally out of the bat, you're just like, okay, here we go.
Mm,
So, I think I would say, man, because I think Equilibrium sounds different than this album. I think definitely sonically, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, I think this album, sound wise, is the best. I think, really, this is our third album we've done with Dean, so he totally knows. Like, it, we got in, Friday, set drums up. We recorded 10 songs in 2 days. I mean, we started doing guitars on Saturday at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's never happened.
Yeah, it sounded like a
So,
very organic process in a way. But I wanted to ask actually too,
yeah,
because going further deep into your discography, I was doing a little research, and I believe this year marks 10 years of Fury of a Patient Man.
it
And
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I kind
Yeah.
of wanted to go further back in time and be like, what the sort of mindset was behind the making of that album, and how has, would you say, it progressed later with Locust Season and Equilibrium, etc.
Yeah. So Fury, yeah, Fury, I thought that was an interesting album to make, to be honest with you. I think because Locust Season was so, it's in like top 10 like stoner albums, So I think, when we did Fury, we wanted something different. You know, because I think Fury is a very, very different sounding album than Locust Season. I think, I God, I haven't listened to that album in so long. I would have to listen to it. When what that was kind of that was an interesting album, to record. Like we started at one studio, then we went to another studio, and then our first bass player Jay, he hopped on and and was able to record the songs. So it was kind of a fight or flight recording, and I I like the album. I don't love it, shall we say? Just because I think there's things that are spectacular on it, and there are some other stuff where I was like, geez, I wish we would have done this. But there are some people, man, it's their favorite album. Like some people absolutely love that album. Um, so I'll have to give it another listen. I just think sonically it's good, but it's not comparable to like a Remedy, or like uh, even even kind of Equilibrium. Um, so I think it was one of those albums where what we kind of had in mind. I don't know if it really kind of was able, to go from head to Pro Tools. Um, but like both, there are still songs we play off that, and people just every time, they're like, play this, play this. So there's still like 3 or 4 tunes that will play off Fury. Um, and yeah, it's been 10 years. Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's insane.
I bet it get,
That's
I bet it gets harder to
crazy.
put a set list together with every album that you make, right?
Yeah, because we play stuff off every album. You know what I mean? Like when we were, we did our European tour, we did different sets all the time. Even like, this tour it starts on May 19th. I mean, we have like 20 tunes that we'll probably, so we'll switch shit up all the time. But yeah, with 5 albums now, like you literally have to be like, okay, let's play this night, and then okay, let's do this another night. Because some of our songs are so long, I mean, you can't. Unfortunately, it'd be great if we could play 20 tunes a night. It'd be like fucking 5 hours. So, what I mean. So in that hour slot, we definitely tried to just bring it. But man, yeah. So and that was, I think it was a little advantageous for us. It was our second album. We came out with a double LP. You know what I mean? We were like, fuck it, let's give it a whirl.
Quite
Um,
ambitious.
but but yeah, there are some amazing tunes on that album, and there's some stuff we haven't played. I mean, when that album came out, we would hammer all of that. Especially with the 2 covers we did on that also. So it's definitely an album where we were like, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. We were doing like Hold Back the Years by Simply Red. You know what I mean? We did Brown Sugar by D'Angelo. So it's definitely an album where we were just like, I guess we're going to do this. And then you're like, okay, we'll make it into a double album. So, it was the first time where it's just like, all right, I guess this tune's gonna be 20 some odd minutes. And, it was enjoyable. Like, I mean, I love like my favorite band is the Allman Brothers. So
Oh, I
I would
mean,
have no problem playing like 45-minute tunes. You know
Almond,
what I mean?
Almond Brothers.
So yeah.
I have a funny story about the Almond Brothers, but like,
Uh,
well, no, okay. So full disclosure, I was born in '93, so I didn't grow up with that stuff and classic rock.
Gotcha.
I love the music. It's just incredible what they were able to
Sure.
do. But I first discovered the Almond Brothers on Guitar Hero of all places, and
Gotcha.
it was Jessica, and
Oh, right on.
the song was going so long that I thought it was my game glitching. So I
Yeah.
restarted it. I restarted the song because I thought that there was something wrong with my game, and only to realize, oh no, the song is supposed to be
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, there are many times, I'll have my car and be like, okay, it's 45 minutes. I'll listen to like, Mountain Jam from Ludlow Garage. Or, like I've seen the Dead tons and tons of times. Or, like I'll put on Sleep Dope Smoker. Like for me, that's like 63 minutes of spectacular. So yeah, I love the long tunes, man. Like
Yeah.
I would love to just be like, okay, there's 4 songs, it's like an hour and 20.
Yeah.
That for me would be monumental. And I think, most of our tunes are like 6 minutes. But live, definitely, especially if Sensitive Doug is like his hands are feeling good. And, his solos, could go for 6 minutes on its own.
Yeah. What do you think is more difficult though? To write a very long song and keep it engaging the entire way through, or writing a very quick song and having to say everything that you wanted to say in like a 2.5 minute time slot?
Yeah, I think a long song, to be honest with you, just because if there's a part in the song where you lose someone, it's gone. You know what I mean? I think, Christ, have we done a 2.5 minute tune? I think, we've done some shorter songs. I mean, they're fun. You just literally just bang, 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 bang. You know what I mean? Get it out. So I would say probably a longer song, keeping someone engaged. Um, and then you really have to think about, okay, how many choruses do you want, right? How many verses do you want? A 2.5 minute song is great because you verse, chorus, you could be done. You know, you just kind of hit it. So I think there's really like only I think a few bands that have really kind of mastered the lengthier tunes. I like the Elm Brothers. I think definitely Sleep. Uh,
Opeth.
I think Yob does it amazingly well.
Opeth.
Um,
Tool.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, 17 minutes for that. I remember clearing the path. I was just like, this it was spectacular. Yeah, it left me kind of wanting more. And Sleep at times reminds me of kind of like a stoner rock jam band. You know what I mean? So I think that's why I tend to kind of dig that stuff because there is the looseness of it, but there's also that really kind of driving capability where after 10 minutes you're like, oh, I'm starting to get more and more excited.
Definitely.
So, but I do think it's harder writing a long song, um, especially everyone has to be on board with playing the long tune too. You know what I mean?
Well, you led me
So,
perfectly into the final question.
sure,
How do you know when you are finished with a song?
a great question. Sometimes it's just you know kind of ending it where I think we'll get a look like the four of us, and you kind of know like just let it out because there are times where you think the tune's going to end, and I'll look up and people are still going. So you're like, okay, keep it going. That's a great question because there are some times you have to be so careful. Like you don't want to be too long, but it just starts pumping, right? Like all of a sudden you get that gallop. So I think that I think sometimes it's literally it's 100% feeling. You know what I mean? But usually with us, like I'll look around, right, and I'll see if the head's nodding and if they're moving. I'm like, okay, let's keep it going. Or, if I'm just like, oh, fuck, we got to, let's be done with this one. So it's, you know what I mean? So I think we know each other well enough now where we can kind of give a wink or a nod, be like, hey, can you get the fuck out of that solo? You know what I mean? Or like, hey, let's bring this shit back, man.
Yeah.
So really, it's kind of, it's literally knowing the other members well enough to be like, all right, what time is it? We can play 3 more songs if you fucking stop right now. So, you know what I mean? So really, I think with us, it's just feel, but it's also like a glance like, hey, what are you doing?
That's a
So,
very
you know what
unique
I mean?
answer. That was a very unique answer I got there. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
Um,
you're welcome. You're
so,
welcome.
so before we go, A, I want to thank you for your time today and for such an awesome album. I can't wait for the rest of the
Oh,
world to hear
thanks, man.
this album.
Do you have a favorite tune on it?
I don't know yet. I really like Clouds. I know it's the single, but like, I just really like that. I don't know why. It just hits me every time. But
Live, that song goes over amazing. Like we played that in Europe, and the boom, 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 people were going crazy at the end of that tune.
Ash is
So
also
yeah,
a good
I
track.
really like that.
I like Ash.
Ash?
Yep.
Ah, all right. I
So,
love that song.
oh really? You had the look. You had the look in your eyes. Like I love that song. The rest of the band hates it. So thank you.
No, well, yeah, no, you know, it's just one of those tunes. I think sometimes it just gets kind of lost. But I think it has a smoothness that it's really heavy. Yeah, I like that. That's like one of the first songs I wrote. Like I was listening to "Free Man in Paris" by Joni Mitchell, and in some reason the chord progression just kind of came to me, and I was like, all right, here we go.
Yep.
So
Pillow
yeah,
talk.
but
Yeah. Pillow talk
Pillow
would be.
Talk.
Yeah, that's also a fantastic one. Those like
Now
that's.
we're talking.
Yeah. Clouds, pillow talk, and Ash would be like my three
Oh,
favorite.
right on, right on.
Yep.
That's great. Oh,
Yep.
I'm glad, man. Yeah, Pillow Talk we just played the other day,
Oh,
so we're gonna play that live also.
awesome. You better
So
play
yeah,
that live when you come to New York. Is there just
we are. Yeah. Oh yeah, we totally will. Yeah, if there's stuff you want, yeah, just shoot me an email. Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, we'll definitely. And I've been really digging Rambo too. Um, I like the chorus. That's probably one of my favorite choruses because I have no idea where it came from. That was one of those ones I just sang it once. It was like, I hear that back, and it just worked.
Yeah.
So, but I'm psyched that you like Ash. That's great. That makes you feel good.
just just anything else with Gozu you like to promote with the release of Remedy in terms of a tour? You said you have a European tour coming up.
Yeah. Well,
What
no.
else?
So actually, we have a United States tour. It starts May
Okay.
19th. The first show is at Vitus.
Okay.
So yeah, please come out. You know, what I mean, if you are in the New York area, I mean, yeah, the next night we'll be in Philly. Then we'll be in Pittsburgh. We'll be in Ohio. Of course, we're playing Kentucky. We're doing 4 dates in Texas. We're playing New Orleans. We're playing Nashville. We're playing, of course, Atlanta. We're playing in Denver. We're playing in Lincoln, Nebraska. A few places in North and South Carolina. Then our last show is in Boston with Cave In and Yob.
Oh yeah,
And that's already sold out.
that's a
So that
fantastic
should be
show
good.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's not a bad way to end tour.
yeah, definitely.
I was like, it's nice to end, at home and kind of
Yeah,
with a banger.
yeah.
So yeah, but thanks, man. I mean,
Oh,
you're too
anytime.
kind.
Anytime. Everybody, we are here
Yeah.
with Gozu. Be sure to check out Remedy. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.